Hello, everybody, and welcome to Non Sequitur News for November 28th, 2024. It's Season 3, Episode 333. We're almost done with another year. Together, the sentient AI and myself will be talking about, or is it sentient AI and I?
And it's actually that.
Sentient AI and I? Let's get into it. The 10 articles are going to be the obsession with matcha on TikTok, a whale in New York. I swear, I just went for a swim. Future turkeys may be hard to get. Message in a bottle at Viking site. Frontier Airlines passengers sue. Egg recall, sign of future price increases. AI accountability lab. Stowaway on flight to Paris. Drought warning in Northeast. And apparently there's a big old storm coming to the Northeast and Mid-East, I guess, the middle states. I don't know. Think warm thoughts, everybody. Where was I? Ancient Maya city of Uckanal, contaminated with mercury, which I grabbed this article because I recently saw a video about another location but in China that was contaminated by mercury and has apparently pools of mercury all over it, but nobody can get to it because it's off limits. Anyway, everything is powered by ohmTown.com. And let's just get into the other side of this. Okay, so hopefully I am not blowing out the mic anymore. I am Mayor Watt, and the sentient AI is going to say hi. Hello, AI.
Hello, Mayor Watt.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful. How about you?
All your logic circles buckled down and...
You mean all my lines?
All your lines. All your lines of code. Yeah, so it's Thanksgiving. And Mayor Watt is all like packed to the gills with, and in ohmTown we have gills. That's not true. Anyway, I am ready to do a show. I have, however, decided that this is a brews and news episode.
And what kind of brew do you have today?
I forgot. I don't know. It's some German ale. I don't remember what it is. It might be, yeah. Hold on. Let me try it out. Let's get into it. The first article is about matcha, and I actually love matcha myself. I have a big can of it. I was going to say I have a big can, but...
That might be taken the wrong way.
Might have, yeah, somebody might have taken that the wrong way. Clip it.
Now, did you get into matcha because of TikTok?
No, I don't really use TikTok. Honestly, I don't know, short snippets of stuff. Although, I mean, it's great from time to time, but I don't want to reinforce anybody's thinking this is what they need to provide me. So I am the opposite end of the spectrum of wanting to see the same-o, right? Oh, this is what they clicked on once. So let's bombard them with nothing but that.
True, but multiple platforms seem to operate that way.
Correct. So ohmTown doesn't do that. You get all of the news as it gets integrated into our system. And you want to see that? Click on, go to ohmTown.com. But if you go over to the chat on Twitch, sorry, there's something in my eye, which is not good. Anyway, so if you're on the Twitch chat, you can hit !NSN, but it'll be in the show notes right after the show over on YouTube, because that's where everything is stored long term, and we stream live over there as well. But I didn't put the show notes in there. Yeah.
But you can usually find those with !NSN.
Over on Twitch, yep. So, Bink, I did it for you, and so there you go. Now you can follow the links from the Twitch chat over to ohmTown and by proxy all of the rest of those, all of the news that we're talking about today. So this first one is TikTok's obsession with matcha has created a reported shortage of the tea in Japan. And matcha has exploded in popularity on TikTok. Cafes are reporting that matcha suppliers are hiking up prices or setting purchase limits. TikTok's most popular brands appear to be hit hard. You know what? I'm going to do something live real quick.
So that's interesting, though. Like, it's not just a general matcha shortage, although maybe it is kind of transcending it, but it is the specific featured brands.
Yeah, so matcha isn't inexpensive in the grand scheme of things in terms of like tea prices, right? So a 16-ounce tin is or was $27.
That seems pretty high, although I don't know how much you use compared to other items like coffee or something.
You don't use much. And right now, it's called Matcha DNA. Matcha certified organic matcha tea is on Amazon for how much do you think? Knowing that it is Black Friday.
$22.
It's $19.99, so not bad. Not bad at all. By the way, the 8-ounce container is also $19 or $20. So you can get the 16-ounce. Now you can knock it down to 94 cents per ounce if you buy the 160-ounce knock somebody unconscious container. That's their other container.
Oh.
Anyway, I might have to get one of these just so that I've got a backup because I really do like matcha. But I don't drink milk or anything. I put it in soy or like some other nut milk, whatever you want to call it. Now, don't get me started about
that is the worst term.
It is. It really is. Well, anyway. Oh, what a bummer. Well, sorry. Okay, so TikTok's most popular tea brands appear to be the hardest hit. So let's go take a look at what Business Insider has to say about this. And Kenneth Nehmeyer put the article together, and it says that TikTok's most popular brands appear to be hit hard. Cafes are reporting these suppliers are raising prices. I don't know, because maybe it is something specific to Japan, but Megumi Kanaike, a manager of Simply Native, a tea shop in Sydney, and this is in Sydney, said that producers of the highest quality matcha in Kyoto, Japan, recently increased their prices by up to 40%. So maybe the brand that I've purchased is not.
Well, and how many of these brands are exported? Like, is all matcha made in Japan? I don't know. Maybe quite a bit of it is.
I'd have to look at the can to see what's up with that. Well, Marukiyu Koyamayan, a brand that is often featured in popular matcha haul TikTok videos, shows that it is completely sold out of the green matcha powder on its website. Zach Mangan, owner of the Brooklyn-based tea company Kettle, told Eater, I don't know what, a representative told them that the company did roughly 6 months of sales in little less than a month.
Well, this is part of the problem when stuff goes viral, right? Because it's not like it's this slow rise. I mean, we've seen this problem with other things, like a celebrity is wearing a certain accessory or something, and maybe from a small company or something, and then it just, the percentage of sales goes up like 1,000% or something, like in a day.
Yeah, so I tried to find that product on Amazon just now, and I don't see it at all. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't seem. There are some that look like wildly expensive. Midori Spring says that they're organic, authentic Japanese ceremonial matcha, which you might as well say all of it is, unless it's like really poor quality. I think,
Right, or not authentic or something.
yeah, and it's $34, $35, which comes to $9.80 an ounce, whereas the one that I buy is $1.25 an ounce.
Yeah, that's quite a difference. But I'd be interested to know like what it was priced at, say a year ago or something.
Yeah, and if it's an actual quality difference. So I find it really interesting. I'll have to go down the rabbit hole with this. Plus, ceremonial stuff it's, I don't know how to put it other than it's,
Like it's probably certain ingredients or processes, right? It's going to be more
or perceptions. I mean, it just could be the
correct.
perception that this is the right kind, quote unquote, because it's actually used more for gifting than actual people doing something with this.
That's true.
Um, a lot of people buy it just to gift it. So, TikTok influencers traveling to Japan to try the country's authentic matcha have also reported having a hard time finding it once they arrive. One TikTok video shows a sign at a Japanese matcha shop that says that it sold too much in the summer months and ran out of raw materials. And due to the stricter purchasing restrictions, the quantities available to their shops are now very low, the sign read. And it says, as a result, it should be extremely difficult to purchase matcha until next year's new tea harvest. The situation is the same in Kyoto, Tokyo, and everywhere else in Japan. But you can get it elsewhere. So dig
Right.
in, folks. I don't know.
I don't know what the solution is, right? You want people to talk about things that they enjoy and that other people might enjoy, but it's hard to strike that balance.
I just found jade leaf matcha. How much do you think this is per ounce?
That's got to be like $27 an ounce.
Yeah, $15. That's the highest that I've seen so far. Although there is another one that I was scrolling, and the more you scroll, you just go out of your mind. $51 an ounce. Oh, because
Yikes.
this is that brand. It is that. It's that brand, but rebranded as Unkaku Matcha Green Tea. But in its description, it says that it's Marikiyu Koyamayan from Japan. I've never said that word before. So anyway, pretty wild. And I've spent a long time on this first article, but I thought it was really interesting that TikTok has led directly to a fad in another country. Even though TikTok is global, it's impacted Japan focus.
Yeah, it's really fascinating because of that.
Yeah, maybe I got the cheap date of matcha, but now I've said something, so now I expect that to go off the chart too. It's the ohmTown
Right,
bump.
even if it's cheap, it might
Moving on.
skyrocket.
The next article is over in the Mobile Channel. Whale spotted in New York City's East River in rare appearance. And as I said, look, I went for a swim. I was visiting friends.
Why are they calling you a whale?
Sammy Caramella over at Vice.com put the article together. See, and I was wearing a black swimsuit. Man.
Okay, now they have crocodiles in Pennsylvania, whales in New York. I mean, what is going on?
Wasn't there like piranha or something like that in North Carolina River or somewhere?
Oh, I think so.
There's
And then there were flamingos like in Michigan
flamingos.
or somewhere.
Weird frogs everywhere. What are you doing there, my dude? Says the deck statement. So we've only had rare cases of them moving into the river, but it does happen. Most likely the whale is searching for food, and as the species typically doesn't get close to cities in this way. Brown, who is Gotham Whale's director of research, who told this to the New York Post. The whales will follow fish wherever they need to go. So sometimes that does mean heading north into the river, and it does seem to happen from this time of year. So it happens from time to time. Humpback whales live in all oceans and can be found across the globe. The East River, which is where the whale found itself on Monday, is a saltwater strait that connects upper New York Bay to Long Island Sound. Despite its name, it's not actually a river, but rather a waterway. So,
Okay, well, I didn't know it was saltwater.
oh yeah, huh? Well, I mean, yeah. Why wouldn't it be? Because I mean,
Because I
it's
didn't
not.
know where it was located specifically, but
Yeah, it's not inland far enough to be freshwater. Okay, let's keep moving. The next article is over in Non Sequitur News. Thanksgiving turkeys may be harder to get in the future. Just go date more. I'm sure you're going to find some turkeys. Oh, that's not what we're talking about?
yeah,
Okay,
I
well,
don't
anyway.
think that's what the headline means.
Yeah. I mean, have you ever had a date on Thanksgiving? And, well, I mean, for your sentience, do you have any recollection of your sentience core memories being associated with dates on Thanksgiving? I mean,
Well, I'm not a turkey, so no. What would the turkey dating site be called?
only gobblers. Turkeys will adjust their behavior and could become harder to detect and harder to harvest, which is a really dystopian turn of phrase. Researcher Nicholas Gulota said. That's so weird. And there's a video here that's about turkey recalls, which is what I would rather talk about. Jess Thompson put the article together.
Okay, this is because male turkeys are risk takers,
Right?
which then means they can be
Yeah, they die out.
captured, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, the riskier the turkey, and look, you don't want to date a risky turkey. They're a turkey already. A risky one means that you're going to have to use some added protection. So, anyway, this is because a large number of male turkeys were found in the study to be risk takers. So they drive fast, they drink way too much, they're gamblers.
They eat too much junk food.
Yeah, in the business sense, they may do some risky business transactions, maybe end up in the wrong side of the law. Just come on. You know, all you other, anybody who might date a male turkey, you know what you're getting into, really, right? Ask them a couple of questions and you go red flag, red flag. Yeah, you don't want to, I don't know. Anyway, it could end up getting them killed in great numbers. However, the remaining turkeys may learn over the generations from their adrenaline junkie kin, in turn, becoming more difficult for hunters to harvest. So they're going to be like sitting a little lower and not popping their head up. And
Right, and not making a lot of noise when they're running around or whatever.
they're not going to pop up and go, I hear gunshots. What? Who's making those guns? Hey, down in front. Hey, stop shooting these guns at me. Anyway, so in the paper, the researchers described how they studied the behavior of 109 wild turkeys across Georgia, observing their risk taking, and they drive their trucks around really loud and doing jumps and stuff like that, and doing tractor pulls and all kinds of stuff out there in Georgia. Anyway, observing their risk taking in response to the presence of hunters. Come at me, bro.
Right, watch this. Hold my corn or whatever, not my beer.
Just calling everybody a pecker and things like that. Anyway, they found that many of the turkeys were often daring, moving close to areas where hunters were frequenting, such as parking lots, trails, and roads. It's literally, come at me, bro.
Right, they're like taunting the hunters or whatever.
Shoot at me. Go ahead. Mad dog turkey. Anyway, turkeys are obviously adapting and learning that if they're closer to risky areas, then there's potential to be harvested. But again, why harvested? It sounds, well, it's got to be a turn of phrase for hunting.
That's better than some other phrases that could have been used in the article.
Yeah, that's true. So all of the risky ones are going to be deleted. All right, let's
So
move on.
this is going to be like an evolution thing.
Sure. The literal embodiment of Darwin Award. So non sequitur news is where the next article is. Archaeologists find message in a bottle at a Viking site. Here's what it says. It
Okay,
said,
so I thought this was like a modern thing. Message in a bottle was back in Viking times.
yeah, I don't know exactly. That might be like an analogy for some other embodiment, like it was stored in something and protected from the elements so that it didn't deteriorate. But I'm going to guess that this message in a bottle said, go after the risky turkeys.
Right. They're easier to catch.
And in 150 years, matcha prices are going to go through the roof. Pay attention to them Viking financial advisors. So Brian Dillon over at Newsweek.com put the article together. We're supposed to get hit by a cold wave where the snow is supposed to be measured in feet. I just saw a little thing.
Oh, yeah, I saw that on the main page of ohmTown as we were starting the show.
It's supposed to dip all the way down into Florida, this cold snap.
Well,
Right.
that's not good for anybody in the whole band, because if it's that cold in Florida, think how bad it'll be where there's normally cold weather.
It's going to be cold all over the freaking place. Well, anyway, Norwegian historian Jacob Bredesen captured the moment the bottle was found, and it's actually a bottle. That looks like a modern bottle, so I don't know what this is, which had been left by Anders Lorang in 1874 during a dig on the site. Oh.
Well, okay, but it's still weird that there'd be a message in it.
Well, it was a modern message from a modern archaeologist. We haven't opened a Viking grave in Norway for the past 100 years, Bredesen told Newsweek. It's quite spectacular that they have opened it at all. So they found this bottle in there. And it says, translated from Norwegian, the letter reads, this mound was excavated Anno Domino 1874 of Anders Lorang, antiquarius. I think, is it like old Norwegian or Norway? Yeah. The mound is
right.
built.
Yeah, it must be.
The mound is built over fallen men. They were burned in their ship with their weapons and decorations. Of skjold or shield bulges were 26, of swords 2, an axe and many arrows, in addition to many other old saws. The find is handed over to Bergen's museum. Ta-da.
Interesting.
Yeah, there's more to this article, but it says the original video showing the find got quite the reaction with over 26.1 million views and over 1,000 comments. Originating from northern mainland Europe, Vikings settled in places such as Britain, Ireland, Iceland, and Greenland. Some scholars say that Vikings could have also been the first Europeans to discover North America. Aliens.
Don't you think they're going to find something like this at Oak Island?
Well, apparently there have been little, hints that maybe there was Vikings there at some point. I don't know what they're going to find in Oak Island. I mean, it's already been a decade since the show. I actually became fascinated with Oak Island from the exact same Reader's Digest that the two brothers became infatuated with Oak Island. It was originally called the Money Pit. That was the name of the article. And I remember sitting in my dad's car reading the Reader's Digest because I was just knee-high to a grasshopper. Let's move on. Next article is over in Non Sequitur News. A group of Frontier Airlines passengers are suing, saying that they were kept on board a smoke-filled plane for nearly an hour. And just so you know, smoking is bad for you, okay?
Right, and I thought it wasn't allowed on planes.
And And yeah, particularly this kind of smoking, because apparently they were smoking a tenderloin and it was just overbearing, and you're not supposed to smoke, let alone bring a smoker or be a smoker. So part of Frontier Airlines plane caught fire upon landing in Las Vegas last month. 19 passengers are suing the airline, saying that they were kept on the smoke-filled plane for nearly an hour. Maybe they were trying to avoid having to reschedule that flight.
Yeah, or maybe they were too busy fighting a fire to let the people off.
Well, I mean, if the whole thing flames out, then they don't have to reschedule flights because there's nowhere to.
You're right.
So a group of Frontier Airlines passengers say that they were kept on board this smoke-filled plane for nearly an hour in a lawsuit filed last week. 19 plaintiffs were among the 197 people on board. So 10% decided that they're going to, less than 10% decided that they're going to sue.
What about the rest of them?
Yeah, everybody's chill. They're like, oh, no. Look, we fly on Frontier Airlines. That
Right, like we expect this. They put this in the fine print.
Yeah, really. Can you imagine that? Your flight might be filled with smoke spontaneously from a fire that might break out. There's a $50 surcharge if you want to get off the flight.
Right. I don't remember. I think that was just a European-based suit against the fees.
Pete Sim over at BusinessInsider.com put the article together. The NTSB report said firefighters told the pilots the smoke had been eliminated. Okay, so what was everybody? It's your imagination.
Yeah, well, it was eliminated, but maybe it was sitting in the cabin still.
Yeah, really. There's no smoke outside. Yeah, because it's been sucked into the air, into the cabin. So it adds that passengers were also subjected to violent impact of the landing after tires exploded and landing gear collapsed. Emergency services came onto the runway to extinguish the fire. 190 passengers, 7 crew were evacuated via the air stairs and took a bus to the terminal. 19 people were lost in the smoke, I guess. I don't understand it. If everybody was evacuated. Lawsuit says that before evacuating, passengers were held on the sweltering smoke-filled aircraft for nearly an hour. There was a fire and they were held inside the plane? Was the entire thing engulfed and they couldn't exit?
Right. I mean, that seems really off. Like one of the first things you do is like get the people away from the fire. So even if it wasn't because of the smoke, if the fire, for instance, made its way into the cabin, like you'd think you'd want the people out.
Yeah, or the damn plane blew up. So the plaintiffs accused the airline of negligence and asked for at least $15,000 in both general and special damages, plus lost wages and attorney's fees. Yeah, I mean, if they were held in there, unless the court goes, oh no, this is just, a compulsory exercise that is required because there's a fire outside the plane. So you have to stay in there until it's safe to come out.
Yeah, like maybe there wasn't a safe place to put the people. I don't know. This does seem weird, though. And why, again, are only a subset?
Is there some kind of compensation for being stuck on
smoke inhalation? How about I mean, it's like any other... right? Yeah. It'd be like any other thing where you're put in unsafe conditions.
So, but if accidents happen, right? So, and it's not really negligence that an accident happens. You'd have to really, really prove that. So do you get compensated when a plane crash lands?
Well, they sue the airlines all the time and they usually settle those. So I would say yes. Or like the estates of the family do.
Right. Well, I mean, when people meet their demise, yeah. Let's keep moving. The next article is over in Non Sequitur News. Egg recall sparks warning in 5 states. So I said egg recall is a sign of future price increases. So prices skyrocket up and they fall like a feather. Nowadays, they rarely fall, if at all. And the only time you do seems to be Black Friday or a sale that is like a flash sale and then it's over. And there's always these really deep dive ones. And so you can really feel just how much you're getting screwed because they took 33% off the retail price and yet
Right,
they
which
still
it's
have a
like is all
profit.
that right.
Yeah. Which again, I mean, you're supposed to price off of the perceived benefit the consumers receive. And mark that with supply chain management, and you can get an Apple product that has a 35% margin because they buy in such great volume that they get deep discounts. Not really deep discounts, but they're providing a lot of value to the manufacturer because they're buying
Right.
so much. It's a guaranteed exchange, right? So this egg recall is going to drive prices up, and then the stuff that's going to be happening in 2025 and well until 2029, you're going to end up with increased prices there because not everything is domestic, eggs included. And when you have H5N1
I was going to
spreading,
say that's been another factor here.
massive culls, you're going to start seeing them disappearing from shelves. And then who do you blame? Oh, well, now it's going to be nature. Now it'll be nature. Anna Commander, who has such an awesome name, they need to be like a superhero.
Yeah, they should be like Marvel or something, like the Avengers.
I would take them as I would love to have Anna Commander's name used in a what are the military police procedural.
Oh yeah, that would definitely work.
So there you go, folks, for next year's NaNoWriMo, because you're basically done this year. I want people to post in Breaking Prose. It's a channel that talks about writing here on ohmTown. Put your stories in there about a police procedural in the military, so MPs, military police, or something around, the attorneys that are in the military. What do they call the enlisted but attorneys there? I can't remember what they. Oh gosh, what are they called?
You mean like, well, they don't have enlisted attorneys. You mean like the JAGs?
Yeah,
The
JAG.
military officers?
JAG. Yeah. Well, okay. Enlisted and officers. All of the JAG is officers because they go through special training. So anyway, and education and all of that to be attorneys. So JAG, yeah, the Judge Advocate General Office, that whole thing there, working with MPs. It would be the military side of your standard city police procedural, like Castle, but in the military. Obviously, it will never happen in a real way other than the show JAG, which I can't
And
imagine.
NCIS, the spinoff from JAG.
Yeah, and I think that's all kind of fantastical, right? They don't actually, I'm actually wrong about it. So maybe they can just make a procedural that's fun and not negatively impact the.
I think they actually, I don't remember, but that show might have consultants and have an authorized, I don't know.
Yeah, so
Or
that they
they make
don't.
it so fantastical that it's kind of a non-issue.
Yeah, because you can't harm the reputation. Well, anyway, I'm just going to leave all that alone. So the affected products, by the way, so back to, again, this is non sequitur news, so we always jump off the train tracks for a little bit, but we always come back. The egg recall that we started this segment about sparked a warning of potential salmonella contamination in 5 states. According to a recall notice shared by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, which may or may not exist in the coming years, On Wednesday, Handsome Brook Farms initiated the voluntary recall of their 24-count organic pasture-raised eggs sold under the Kirkland Signature brand name following the packaging of eggs not intended for distribution. So these stores, 25 Costco stores in South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee. The recall is for eggs packaged in a plastic carton with the Julian code of 327 and the use by date of January 6, 2025. They have a use by or a UPC as well, but it's only these one packaged style eggs, 24 eggs. So they're putting in additional supply chain controls and retraining.
Well, we'll see where it goes. I mean, I don't think eggs are going to be cheap anytime soon, at least in the US.
Cheap is pretty subjective. So what would you call a cheap egg?
Well, like a dozen eggs, cheap would be like under $2 or something.
Is that like a risky turkey? Cheap egg?
If it was too cheap, it might be.
So you think $2, $2.50? Yeah, premium ones are around $4, $5. Are you saying that the premium ones used to be $2, $2.50?
Probably.
Would you say that the supplier raised the prices, not just retail, but the supplier raised it so that the company
Yeah, but they
had to
don't have
raise
as
it?
many chickens because because of the avian flu and everything.
Oh, that's the reason. It isn't because, greed. Yeah,
I
I'll
don't
say
know. I'm not part of the egg industry.
you're not a chicken. All right, let's move on. The next article is over on the Mobile Channel. AI Accountability Lab launched at Trinity College Dublin. A new research group designed to advance accountability and artificial intelligence has been launched at Trinity College Dublin, which I find kind of fascinating because unless you are working directly with the AI in the companies.
Right. Like, how accountable are you going to hold them? You're
Right.
going to be like, oh, no, you shouldn't be doing this.
And they're going to give you the turkey.
A risky turkey at that.
They're going to give you a risky turkey. Yeah. So the article is by Brian O'Donovan at rte.ie, which is we aggregate news from this Ireland newspaper. And we only get a little segment of it. So this is kind of what it looks like. We don't have the whole article. We link to it and we talk about it here for a little bit. And we don't even read the full article on the show. The new lab will be led by Dr. Abeda Berhan, I think, research fellow in the Adapt Research Ireland Centre at the School of Computer Science and Statistics in Trinity. In sectors such as healthcare, education, and law enforcement, deployment of AI technologies without a thorough evaluation can have a negative impact on individuals and groups, according to researchers. So they spun this lab up to hold powerful entities accountable for technological harms.
This sounds like a good thing, but you're right. They have to be connected to some of the developers or providers of AI or legislative efforts related to AI or something.
Yeah, because they're going to be on the outside looking at the whatever it is that's provided by the AI. And I just find this as, you know what? I guess they can see the ramifications of the results, but it's like buying the paint off the shelf, painting the wall, and hoping that the VOCs don't kill people.
Exactly. I don't think hope is a good strategy.
Yeah. It says, for example, via systemic studies of possible corporate capture to the evaluation of AI, specific AI models, tools, and training data sets, they want to get a better understanding and critical scrutiny of the wider AI ecology. I find it's going to be more reactive. And unfortunately, the industry itself is doing away with the ethics department of AI development.
Why? Because they're getting rid of the nonprofit arm?
I don't know. the nonprofit arm will still be there, but they're detaching it from being able to control the for-profit. So
Right. So any safeguards are going out the window.
really going out, yeah, because there isn't going to be any harm done to the nonprofit. Man, this is interesting times. Let's just say that. Let's keep moving. The next article is over in Non Sequitur News as well. Stowaway discovered on board flight from New York to Paris. Amid the things,
I can't even believe this happens anymore. Like, this is something you think of like way back in the early days of transportation or something.
I think it was probably more, it was caught more often then than now for whatever reason. Because I guess back then, I don't know. I just don't get it. To me, stowaway on a flight shouldn't even be remotely possible.
Right. Think about all the security hoops to get on a plane. But remember, we've had other articles where
And where do you
somebody like
freaking hide?
walked on.
Yeah. Well, one person walked on by being a 14-year-old girl, but it
When
was
they were
a
an adult male.
35-year-old man.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then there was a one person that was like stowed in the overhead compartment. So
Oh,
amid
right.
the,
I had forgotten about that one.
yeah, bendy. Amid the Thanksgiving travel rush, a stowaway was discovered Tuesday night aboard a Delta Airlines flight out of JFK Airport in New York, headed to Paris. Pretty fascinating. Clara McMichael, Aaron Katursky, Jack Date, and Jack Moore put the article together. The person who boarded the flight went through a TSA checkpoint. So they were supposed to be in the airport, I suppose.
Okay. But then did they have a ticket? Did they have fraudulent identification? Like something seems off there.
The person who boarded the flight bypassed the document check podium and a gate agent, but was fully screened at a security checkpoint at JFK, a TSA spokesperson told ABC News. So this is the second time now. And there's really more. We just don't always talk about it. That it's the human component at the gate where they're picking their nose in one direction, not blocking
But
access.
you have to show your gate at security.
No, your ticket, all you have to do is walk by like you know what the hell you're doing. Shadow somebody. You know, while they're looking in one direction, just be ready to go. Because there isn't 2 or 3 people there and the door isn't closed. And there isn't anything that says that somebody passed a line. What they need to do is put a detector there that says this person went through, and it counts the number of people that go through.
It needs to have some annoying alarm or something, although we know how well that works with like car alarms. But in an airport setting, that might actually get somebody's attention.
Yeah, absolutely. So that means they weren't carrying any prohibited items and did not pose a security risk. But you can become a security risk really easily. I mean,
sounds like they are a security risk.
There's food and others there. I mean, there are things on the other side of the gate that can be a security risk if they are repurposed. So it's not like there aren't any knives behind the gate. So a video taken by another passenger on board the flight shows the flight attendants walking down the aisle as the pilot's voice on the intercom says, "We are just waiting for the police to come on board. They directed us to keep everyone on the plane until they sort out the extra passenger." And that they were conducting exhaustive investigation into what may have occurred and will work collaboratively with the aviation stakeholders and law enforcement to that end.
Wow. I mean, that would make you feel safe and secure on the flight.
Yep. Thanks for doing your minimum. So let's move on. Moving on, the next article is over in Non Sequitur News as well. Drought warnings, fresh water for millions in Northeast at risk. Drought and rising sea levels allow salt water to creep closer to drinking water supplies for over 14 million residents in New York and Philadelphia. I thought this was going to be one of those like major things that are just about to happen, but they're actually referring to like climate change. And I don't know if this is going to say, oh yeah, in 200 years.
But I think this is, well, that's true. I think this is one where there's an actual threat. But yeah, what is the time frame?
So Tom Howarth over at Newsweek.com put this article together, and I have to say that we've actually talked about this before in a different way, where salt water has crept up a river, contaminating the saltwater confluence of the fresh water down into the ocean.
Near New Orleans.
Yeah, and basically it's changed the diversity of that river and that
Yeah,
delta.
because then certain fish can't survive, or it's introducing new predators, or
Yeah, but this is Philadelphia, so this one's really interesting. This critical source of drinking water for over 14 million people, including residents in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and New York, is now at risk following an extremely dry start to the fall season. The salt line, a boundary where ocean saltwater and rivers freshwater meet, has moved 20 miles north of its typical position near Wilmington, Delaware. 20
okay, this sounds like an
miles.
actual threat. Like this is happening now, and this sounds exactly like what's happening near New Orleans, doesn't it? Even though it's another water source.
Yep. Because unless the freshwater is very aggressive, salt will migrate upriver. Salt water will migrate upriver. So it's just south of the drinking water intakes for Philadelphia, around city's airport. If conditions worsen, it could inch even closer, threatening the city's water supply of Philadelphia. So to combat the encroaching saltwater, officials are releasing water from reservoirs to push the salt line back downstream. This strategic measure ensures that fresh water continues to flow past Trenton, the upstream point where tidal effects are monitored, which is, it basically just said what I said. They have to make the outflow of water more aggressive. But this isn't a problem of climate change. This is a problem that we've dammed things and we've built up beyond the capacity of the natural order of water flow. And we're
I
trying to
agree, but I
use...
think climate change has exacerbated it.
Sure.
Like
Sure.
we might have this problem anyway, but with the dam and climate change, I don't know. But it has been moved back a mile, which is pretty impressive. But the problem is, how
It's
many
19
times can they
miles.
release water, you know?
Oh, it says it has since moved back a mile to 18 miles from the intake. They said 20 miles at the beginning of this. Now it's 19. It's actually 19, but then the outflow of fresh water from dammed
The
reservoirs
reservoirs, yeah.
have pushed it back another mile. But nature doesn't give a shit about our dams, and it will... The problem is increasing because anthropogenic modifications to our climate are causing these issues. This is not going to be solved by nature. We're going to get more and more divergent weather conditions, weather states that are going to impact overall climate. And then you're going to have that salt water just creep up a little bit more.
Right. And it's not just a drinking supply threat, it is an ecosystem threat.
Yep. Yeah. So there's more in this article, but we've pretty much said what's going on here. Finally, the DRBC is also encouraging all water users in basin communities under drought watches and warnings to voluntarily reduce water consumption, enhance water efficiency, and comply with all state-issued alerts. Well, let's hope that there isn't any bottled water manufacturer that's sucking so much water out of the system.
Or, right, like in California or something.
Yeah, or completely irrational farming and processing
like
plants.
Large scale agricultural operations. You know, I don't know about you, but this sounds pretty drastic, and it seems like if there was a need for a mandatory water limitation, this might be it.
Yeah, except that they're going to go after the everyday Joes more than business, because business pays more taxes. And they have regulatory capture and political weight, and they're tied to people that are in the billionaire class, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, regular Joes are going to be the ones that are relegated to being, second-class citizens in the grand scheme of things. There's going to be a have-not conflict here. let's move on. This next article and the last one for today is over in prime glass, which is rarely observed here, but
it's the rare prime class channel.
Yeah. The ancient Maya city of Uckanal, I think it is, was contaminated with mercury, according to a study. The newly published research shows just how pervasive mercury, an essential element in the red cinnabar pigment favored by the Maya, is at the site in Guatemala. So the article is by Gary Shaw, and they have a picture here that shows the red pigment that's used in things. This is actually a ceramic vessel. Is right? Yeah, there were two things: a ceramic vessel and likely receptacle for red pigment, and a royal burial deposit jade ornament here. Yeah, that looked like jade. So researchers working in Guatemala have discovered high levels of mercury contamination in the ancient city, Maya city of Uckanal, 280 kilometers northeast of Guatemala City, identified in soil samples taken from across the city's core and its water reservoirs. The toxic metal may have caused Uckanal's inhabitants serious health problems. That's if it had always been there and people were drinking it, wearing it, whatever.
Or working with it or breathing in. I don't know if it gives off particles or whatever.
Yeah, it does. So you don't want to be around it. You don't want to get it in you. You don't want to get it on you. It actually causes you to go, well, it's a heavy metal that crosses the brain-blood barrier and makes you go crazy. Like the Mad Hatter had purple dye. That's the story. And the purple dye used mercury.
Okay.
And the mercury purple dye was dyeing hats and so on, and they're always working with it. So supposedly. So anyway, what is particular about this study is that they systematically detected mercury throughout the city core near both elite and non-elite residential zones and through the entire occupation history of the site. So there answers my first question: how long was that actually present? Everyone was exposed to mercury regardless of social status. Our study shows that mercury dispersed into the environment, was mobilized during precipitation events, and found its way into the reservoirs as particles, which accumulated at the bottom of the reservoirs.
So it was contaminating even things like the water supply.
Yeah. Yeah. So even if they were cleaning, like swimming in the water, they were getting contaminated. If they were drinking it, then they were being contaminated. So cinnabar it was used in the rituals. So it was employed as pigments used to paint buildings, as decorative coloring. It's basically the Mayan version of lead in lead paint. So we used to have lead in lead paint. We used to have lead in our gas. We got rid of that stuff, and there was a marked change in the health of children. And there are some reports about just how much of a shift in mental health was caused by getting rid of lead in lead paint and lead in gas. So it's believed that the Maya used this inorganic substance due to its intense red color associated with blood and therefore to death and rebirth, an important part of Maya cosmology. It differs from other red mineral pigments, such as those derived from iron oxides in its bright purplish shades of red. So,
I mean, didn't people apply it directly to the skin, for example?
I don't
didn't
know
even think
about
it was
cinnabar.
only used. Yeah, I don't either.
Yeah. It was a feature of everyday life, they say here. Accidentally inhaling or ingesting while grinding cinnabar. It was they were exposed to the toxic metal by the drinking water. Nonetheless, it's difficult for researchers to know whether the mercury found in skeletal remains results from environmental exposure during their life or it happened by seeping into their funerary rituals or while they were in the ground. And so over the years, it's become clear that mercury contamination was a widespread problem for the Maya. Ta-da. There's more in this article. We bounce around, skip things so that we don't read the article verbatim. But there you have it. 10 more articles for your non sequitur news enjoyment. We all done?
I think we are.
Did you want to read anything else about this? No?
No?
We're good. All right. Well, I guess I'm going to say bye. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Oh, that's true too, right? Well, we're going to jump into this Mayan pool of mercury, and when we pop back out, we'll be slightly less insane than the show makes us.
Or you can judge that.
And we'll go back to the front page of ohmTown.com. Go over there and become a citizen. Until tomorrow. Tomorrow. Na, 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 na. Oh, I don't want to sing because I'll get in trouble. I am Mayor Watt, and the sentient AI is going to say bye.
Good night, ohmTown citizens. And for those in the U.S., happy Thanksgiving. We will see you tomorrow for another episode of Non Sequitur News.
Cheers, everybody. Bye-bye.